Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show, right here on Reality Radio 101. I'm your host, Sarantos. I'm a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are just so important to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show for you every single Tuesday evening. I believe that every song is a story. Tonight we have a very interesting guest for you guys, Jason Peterson. He's an entrepreneur, innovator, influencer, and among the top 100 power players as named by Billboard magazine several years in a row. Jason is known for his visionary work in the world of streaming entertainment content, creating avenues to distribute and monetize content digitally via his companies.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Welcome to the show, Jason. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
So this is going to be a great show, I think, because our listeners are either avid lovers of music that want to hear the stories about how songs are made, and then we also have a lot of songwriters. So you kind of come a little bit from the business perspective, which I think a lot of indie songwriters probably don't know enough about. Would you agree with that?
I think it's always helpful to understand the business side of things, and I've made a career for the past 22 years being the business end of things for creative people, so love to talk about it.
Yeah. What do you think, in your opinion, is like the biggest mistake you see indie artists or even professional musicians make?
Great question. So every artist, every project, every business has a life cycle. And I think a lot of creative people don't think about their art as a business with a life cycle. And at different points in that life cycle, there's a different set of activities that we need to be engaged in. And there's different types of partners that we need to be working with. And to have an understanding of that, I think, is really helpful. Now, art for art's sake is a beautiful thing, and that is completely amazing. If at the same time it's art with a commerce aspect, because we're trying to make a living from it, we need to understand what the life cycle of our art looks like and our career as an artist looks like, and understand who we should be working with and what we should be doing at those different phases.
Yeah, and that's a whole huge area that I think, I've been doing this 8 years, and I try to read as much as I can about the business side, but even there's things I've done that were mistakes or things I'm not working on that I should be. So what kind of resources do you guys have resources on your websites to help songwriters, or how can they reach out to you guys if they want to use your services, or if they want to tell us a little bit about that?
For our services, you can go to our website, godigital.com, godigital.com. You can see all of the different business units that we own. We cover a pretty broad spectrum within music, video, and actually brands now as well. In general, I always recommend every person in the music industry, regardless of their particular profession, read Don Passman's book, All You Need to Know About the Music Business.
That's a great book. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a fantastic book. I don't remember who recommended that to me a couple years in, and wow, that I learned so much from that book. So I think that's a great suggestion.
It's a deep read. It's technical, right? But it's a textbook. So there are sections you can read when they're relevant to you. You don't necessarily have to bite off the whole thing and read it cover to cover.
Yeah, that's true. If you had an indie artist that approached you, and let's say, for example, they're focused on their art and they had, let's just pick random numbers, $200 a month, $1,000, or $10,000 a month. Is there somewhere you would tell them to focus with that? Great
question. So in today's creator economy, it's my belief that the number one way that creators of any type, right, whether you're a songwriter, a recording artist, a singer-songwriter, some kind of video creator who maybe also uses music in some way, the number one way to go up that maturity curve is to collaborate. I think Bad Bunny is a great example of this, right? Bad Bunny, for 2 years in a row, has been the top streamed artist in the world. And he took that crown from Drake, if I remember correctly. And not that long ago, Bad Bunny was bagging groceries in a San Juan supermarket in Puerto Rico. He happened to have a really unique voice and the opportunity to collaborate with other musicians in the Puerto Rican reggaeton community. And that's exactly what he did. He appeared on songs with other already popular or more popular artists, and people heard his unique voice and they were enamored with it, and it started to build momentum. Momentum is really what it's about.
I think that's awesome advice. I can tell you that when I first started, like a lot of songwriters, you kind of do your own thing, and then you don't really know about collaborating, and then you don't know about publishers or anything, and you're scared of everybody's going to take your song that has like 2 streams. But as you kind of learn, I think collaborating is huge, and I've myself tried to do a bunch of that the last 2 years, because I think you're right. Not only are you exposing yourself to another artist's contacts and fans, but for me, you also learn a lot. I've learned a ton collaborating.
And if you do your part right, you become attractive to others to collaborate with.
Yeah.
Right. If you've done a good job of managing and building your fan base, and you have a means or multiple means of going direct to audience, direct to consumer, then all of a sudden you start to become attractive to others. Right. There's a snowball effect there. Momentum starts to pick up. It's a two-way street in collaboration. I
can tell you the only frustrating thing for me is I kind of almost collaborate with anybody who reaches out to me, and I've been burned like 6 times. I'm very flexible, and I'm like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to do the drums, the music? You want me to do the music? You want to do the lyrics? Like I'm like Nashville, like we'll just split everything equally, even if I've done 90% of it. But I can't tell you, 5 times I've sent someone a complete Logic file with all the music, because they couldn't make music, quote unquote, and they wanted to do lyrics, and I said, okay, come up with anything you want. It could be about whatever, and then send it to me. We'll go back and forth on the lyrics, and then I'll sing my part, you sing your part, and then I never hear from them again. So it's like, I don't know if people get intimidated. Is there a way you can screen people? Like, how do you know if someone is worthy of collaborating? And I don't mean that in a stuck-up way. I just mean, like, I feel like sometimes people get intimidated where there's a lot of different levels, and maybe you're a notch below them or above them. But do you have any advice for that?
So that's a really incredible question that I don't think has been answered on a global scale. If you're reaching out to somebody you don't know online, but that you want to collaborate with, I think it does happen too often that there isn't follow through, which is unfortunate because people don't feel a sense of accountability. And that's why community is so important. Back to the Bad Bunny example. He was part of a very tight-knit community. Puerto Rico is an island.
Sure.
Everybody speaks Spanish, and he was specifically doing reggaeton music, right? And so he got into this community of other Spanish-speaking reggaeton artists in the same geographic region. These guys were literally physically proximate to each other, part of the same community. And I think that's really important because it creates accountability, and there's more integrity in the system as a result. Beyond that, making yourself as a creator as attractive as possible from a collaboration standpoint is going to increase the chances that people are responsive, right? If you have a big email list, a large fan club, active touring, good socials, your streams are, let's say, picking up momentum, those are all things that will make you more attractive and increase the likelihood that people will treat you with integrity.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, too. You talked about email list, and I think it was my first couple years, I would spend some marketing dollars on Facebook and different things, and I kind of stopped because I was just getting fake bots and people following me. And then I focused on email list. But how do you get, when someone has, I lost track, I think it's 20,000 people on my email list. How do you monetize that? How do you take someone who has different tiers and says, hey, these are people that want me to email them once a week with a new song or video or book chapter. These are people I email once a month. These are my media contacts that are 9,000 or whatever. How do you do that correctly? Or how do you monetize it when you're an indie artist and you kind of, I don't want to say you're flailing, but you're kind of trying to figure stuff out and you're trying to figure out what to do without annoying people?
Sure. In answering the question, the number one thing that I'm going to put out there is that we have to put our business hat on, right? This is the point at which we largely exit the creative domain. And we need to start thinking about that list. 20,000 is a sizable list, right? How does that segment? What are the cohorts involved there? And ultimately, what we're thinking about is what is the lifetime value of a customer and what is the cost to acquire and service that customer? And if there is a delta, a difference between the net present lifetime value of a customer and the cost to acquire and service them, that's profit. So let's say that you figured out that there's 1,000 super fans within the 20,000. That's a cohort, right? These are people that will travel to see your shows. They will buy almost anything that you put out. Well, you might want to think about creating some kind of, maybe it's an NFT, right? That's a limited edition collectible. It comes with an experiential component. It's not just a JPEG or GIF image or a recording. It's also 1 year all access to any show that you do. Or maybe it's access to a Discord chat room you set up, and these guys can talk to you anytime you want. You guarantee you'll get back to them in 24 hours. There's an experiential or access component tied to it. And you market it straight to those 1,000 super users, and maybe you get 200 to buy, and maybe they each spend $1,000. You just made $200,000.
Yeah. So do you think indie artists should be doing that, or do you think it should hire different companies or people that are good at that? Because I can tell you personally, that's been a challenge of mine, is you try things here and there, you boost a post, and you're like, oh, wow, this is cool, or wow, I got 4,000 views on a TikTok video, but I feel like, I don't want to say indie artists are not talented enough to do it, because I know a lot of people have. What's the answer there, you think?
Well, like I said at the beginning of the call, there's a life cycle, right? And when a creator is first beginning, by definition, they must do it themselves. And once they get to a certain critical mass and they start to think of a normal distribution curve, right? It's like a bell curve. As they start to go up that bell curve in terms of their life cycle, then perhaps they can afford to or will attract other people to participate in their ecosystem, maybe a manager. At our record label, Sync Music, A&Q, we love to see artists with managers. We probably wouldn't work with an artist that didn't have a team, right? If they don't have a manager, a business manager, an agent, if they don't have a team, they're probably not going to be holistically successful in the long run. You have to start out doing it yourself, which means you have to apply yourself from a business standpoint at some level. If you create something that resonates with audiences, then attract the best team that you can. And at that point, start putting repeatable and scalable people, processes, and technology in place so that you can, for example, capture the information of fans who genuinely want to hear from you. They like your creative output. That's a valuable relationship. Start analyzing those relationships. What do these people want from you? What are they willing to pay for?
Yeah.
Right? Would people buy an NFT? Will they come to shows in certain areas? That's the business side of things. Hopefully you have at least one other collaborator who's willing to help you with that. I used to produce movies and TV shows and music videos and commercials, and typically I would want to produce the show and let somebody else distribute and market the show so I could go produce my next show. And as a creator, if you can do that, that's amazing, but you need somebody to focus on the distribution and marketing piece. You need a collaborator.
I 100% agree. For the fans listening, what do you think of Patreon and some of these other platforms out there? You think they're worth it? Do you think they're not worth it?
I love it. I mean, basically free demand planning. Right? If you can crowdfund a project, it lets you know exactly how much demand is out there for what you're doing, at least at the level that someone's willing to get involved early. And I think that's great. Some bigger artists won't do it just because their ego feels like, I shouldn't have to go crowdfund. And they'd rather go take an advance from their record label. Yeah. But to the extent that you can crowdfund something, it's going to be cheaper and more cost effective in the long run.
Yeah, that's fascinating. What do you, in the next year or two, where do you see music going? Is there any secret sauce or anything you can kind of share with us of where you think?
I see a couple of things. Number one, we're in the streaming market cycle. You can go look at the history of any entertainment medium. Yeah. There's a life cycle to every technical format. Movies and TV, right? Or, home entertainment. We had VHS and Betamax. VHS won that out. Then we had DVD. Then we had a war between Blu-ray and HD DVD, and Blu-ray won out, right? Then we moved to download and streaming paradigms. Same thing in music. And right now we're in the era of streaming where ownership has been redefined as access rights. It's a really strong value proposition, right? $10 a month, everything ever produced available on demand. That's amazing. And we're predominantly doing that in stereo. The next technical iteration will be immersive audio. There are two competing standards, Sony 360 and Dolby. It's something analogous to going from mono to stereo or black and white to color. We're now going from stereo to immersive to surround audio. And so that will be the next technical wave. It will be delivered inside the streaming business model. We, on the business end of things for rights holders, are certainly pushing for that to be a premium price product for consumers. That battle is not going well because the companies that make the technology that enables immersive audio make a lot of money licensing the technology to the various playback vendors, the various phone companies. They prefer the technology be given away by music creators, and that we just delivered all of our audio in immersive formats to the likes of Apple and Spotify so that the tech companies can make the money on the technology piece and not on the music. And so that's currently ongoing. Second thing is, streaming adoption globally will continue to rise. Goldman Sachs and Bank of America have forecasted over 1 billion monthly active users by 2030. We are not even halfway there by my last estimate. So the rate of growth in music will continue. It will slow as we get towards that maturity point, but we're going to continue to grow for many years to come. And that should be encouraging. And as creators, we should look at where is that growth coming from. That may be an opportunity, right? If we're putting our business hats on, where can we market that there's growth? Maybe we should be collaborating with Egyptian or Middle Eastern artists. Maybe that's a huge growth market for consumers that are streaming. Maybe we should go to Latin America. It's been the fastest growing market for music 8 years running. Maybe we should collaborate with some artists down there, right? Start thinking about where's the growth, because as entrepreneurs, and that's what a creator is, you want to be in large and fast growing markets. It does not matter how well you execute. If you're in a small and shrinking market, you're not going to do well, whereas a rising tide raises all boats.
That's great. That's great advice. And I think Spotify, Apple Music are great, but there's also a point where you see, oh, wow, I have a couple thousand listeners in Brazil and some of these countries, but you don't know what to do, or at least I don't know what to do with that. Whereas I'm sure people that are more focused on metrics and have some of the analytics can kind of tone down to that to say, oh, it was because of this song, and how you can keep that momentum going. I think that's the hardest thing I've found as an indie artist. You get a song, you hit number 1 in some chart or number 2, and it's about keeping that momentum going that you're saying. And that's the hard thing I think indie artists are presented with.
Yep, that's right. That's why you need to have a portfolio of creative work ready to go. You need to have collaborations that can help you promote that. You need to have some idea of who your fans are, who your super users are, so you can use the super users to create momentum in the greater market.
And do you think it's important, a couple of years ago I did some taxi conferences, and I think in 8 years I put out about 240 songs. Half of them are instrumentals for movies and TVs. Do you think that's a good strategy, or do you think that's not, that's kind of a flooded market now? Any advice on that for indie artists?
We're seeing 50 to 60,000 releases a week right now.
Yeah.
There's an incredible amount of white noise. There's also, of course, the history of Western music in the back catalog that's available. So I would say quality over quantity right now. One single hit song, sound recording, can create millions of dollars in income over a year or two, right? And then there's the 100-year annuity after that. And that's more money than 200 misses.
Yeah.
It's a hits business.
Yeah.
Absolutely a hits business.
I gotcha. All right, man. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a listen to this song, and then we'll come back and close out the show and get your contact info where people can check out your website, and then we'll let you go, okay?
Beautiful.
All right. Check this out, everybody. Here we go.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? Jason Peterson. That it's all for the best, 'cause it is.
I was so wrong for so long, only trying to please myself. Girl, I was caught up in her lust when I don't really want no one else. So no, I know I should have treated you better, but me and you were meant to last forever. So let me in, give me another chance to just be your man. 'Cause when the roof caved in and the truth came out, I just didn't know what to do. But when I become a star, we'll be living so large, I'll do anything for you. So tell me, girl,
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say?
what you say?
That it's all for the best, 'cause it is. What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say?
What you say?
What did she say?
How could I live with myself, knowing that I let our love go? And ooh, what I do for one chance, I just gotta let you know. I know what I did wasn't clever, but me and you were meant to be together. So let me in, give me another chance to just be your man. 'Cause when the roof caved in and the truth came out, I just didn't know what to do. me what you say. I really need you in my life, 'cause things ain't right, girl. Tell me what you say. I don't want you to leave me, though you call me cheating. Tell me what you say. I really need you in my life, 'cause things ain't right. 'Cause when the roof caved in and the truth came out, I just didn't know what to do. But when I become a star, we'll be living so large. I'll do anything for you. So baby, what you say?
That you only meant when of course I do. What you say? That it's all for nothing. Oh well, of course it is. What you say? That you only meant what you say? What did she say?
All right, well, that was obviously a really cool song. In closing out the show, give us your website, anything you want to share for the fans, where they can reach out to you. I think you'd be a tremendous asset to anybody, and I think they should listen to your words and heed your advice.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Our website is godigital.com, godigital.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Jason Pett, JASONPET, and Instagram at USC Jason Pett. Love to hear from you guys. If you go to our website, you'll see all the different businesses in our portfolio. I would recommend you take a look at Sound Royalties. We provide advances to rights holders against their royalty streams to help them finance the growth of their business. And Sync Music, CINQ Music, which is a distributor, label, and publisher, and we work with a lot of artists that are in various stages of development through superstars. We own catalogs from T.I., Jason Derulo, Janet Jackson, a lot of Latin music. Would love to hear from anybody that's interested in working with us.
Jason, I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight, man. Truly humbling.
Thanks for spending some time.
You're welcome. So thank you to all the fans out there. I hope everyone's unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos. Please join me every Tuesday night to hear other amazing artists and people share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show on Reality Radio 101. Have a great night, everyone. I love you guys. And tonight I'm going to leave you with one of my songs called The Syringe of Adrenaline. This is a hard rock song about a mistress whose every kiss is a curse of light. Once bitten, you're out of control. Have a great night, everyone. I love you guys.
In darkness on broad daylight. It doesn't really matter, 'cause it never feels right. Each time a new mask, I let her back in, like a trusted old friend. And I'm stuck in passing. Once bitten, out of control, infected my immortal soul, drowning in a black hole. How low can I go? The clock moves so slowly, mind heavy and insane. As we play this deadly game, it hits me, I am the prey. Every kiss a curse of light. Don't care, 'cause I just need a hit. I just really need a jump start. So I'll take a syringe of adrenaline, straight to my heart. All that's left of me, with each siren I ignore, is a shell full of scars, lonely and wanting more. All I can do is pretend I'm not worried. I try hard to act so cool, though I'm not worthy. Once bitten, out of control, infected my immortal soul, drowning in a black hole. How low can I go? The clock moves so slowly, mind heavy and insane. As we play this deadly game, it hits me, I am the prey. Every kiss a curse of light. Don't care cause I just need a hit. I just really need a jump start. So I take that syringe of adrenaline straight to my heart. Don't wait until it's too late. Every Ferris wheel stops turning. Every love has an expiration date. Wreckage will take years to fix. Nights all but over. I crave the rush again. I'm barely sober. Maybe find myself some time in the same damn place. Real soon tonight. Play the same damn game. The clock moves so slowly. Mind heavy and insane. As we play this deadly game, like it's me, I am the prey. Every kiss a cursed line. No catch, I just need a hit. I just really need a jump start. So take a syringe of adrenaline straight to my heart. Straight to my heart. Straight to my heart. Straight to my heart.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.
This program was mixed and mastered by Landis Maitland Whitelaw at landismaitlandwhitelaw.com.